On this episode, we speak about the science of our emotions. Contrary to popular belief, we should pay attention to how we feel on a daily basis. Emotions are key in understanding our thoughts and play a major role in our overall quality of life. Tune in as we discover our inner energy and how we can live better one thought at a time, right here on LifeClub. I'm Tashima Jones. Welcome to LifeClub. I genuinely believe personal development unlocks the door to the abundant and wonderful life we all already have. I also believe we must be intentional about seeking out that life in order to find and fulfill it. I am so grateful your journey of discovery has led you all the way here. Let's keep moving forward together. Once again, welcome to Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. Hello, Tashima Jones here. Super excited as always to be rocking with you. This is a Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. I'm excited as always. I have my homie in the studio. What's good? How's your week been? How's everything going?
Long week, a week of lessons. God is good. And now, to end the week off, God has me sitting here with you to learn another lesson. Because, you
Because we schooling
people.
life.
Yes.
We schooling life.
Yes.
That's my new
can't wait to
thing.
hear.
We're schooling life. It's always a pleasure to have guests, and it's always a pleasure to just be here in my element and just rock out. So today is nothing different.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
So today we are speaking about the science of our emotions.
Oh.
That is today's topic. I don't know where I come up with these things.
I just hope I
happen.
don't cry by the end of this.
You might shed a tear or two.
Yeah, I think so.
Emotions are so vital to our quality of life. On Life Club, emotions are to the soul what the skin is to the body. They are indicators of our internal well-being. Emotions are messages that tell us what we were just thinking, or reflections of a recent experience. And today we are speaking about, again, the science of our emotions. And to aid us along this journey, we are looking to the battery.
The battery.
The battery.
Yes.
The battery.
Let's
So
do
electricity is this flow of electrons through a conductive pathway, aka a wire, right?
Okay.
And we all know that there are at least two components of a battery. You have the positive side and you have the negative side. But the battery also has what we call electrolytes inside of it, right? That's the part that I don't think a lot of us know about. And it would take me to actually think about this and then go find out how the battery works. So the negative part of the battery is considered an anode. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then the positive side of a battery is called a cathode. And then again, you have the electrolyte. So the interesting thing about a battery is that normally the electricity starts on the negative side. And the way electricity flows through it is that the energy from the negative side has to be pulled over to the positive side. What's happening inside of the battery is this like friction. It's like this fight between the positive and the negative. And the goal is to get the balance. And that's when you get electricity. Please look this up for yourselves because I am totally not an electrician.
No, you
This is my synopsis.
clear.
This is my summary of what I did discover. So there's like this internal battle within the battery between the negative and the positive. An important point to recognize is that the electricity starts on the negative side. I think that's really, really important for us to just kind of hold on to. And then eventually there's balance and you get flow and then you have light. So comparing that to our thoughts is super important. We have a tendency to start out on the negative side.
Indeed.
You know, and I always say when I'm speaking to somebody and when I do my monologues on phone calls, when people call me and I'm trying to fix their lives, and we have this tendency to start off on the negative. Even when we wake up, we're bombarded with the stresses of life or the responsibilities that don't necessarily give us joy and give us excitement. And I always say that within us, there's this sense of gravity. Gravity keeps us down. It keeps us grounded. And I think the same is true for our emotions and even our thought patterns, how there's just this tendency to have low energy. And I don't know why. I'm still discovering that. But what I have discovered is that there is going to take effort and energy to move from that negative perspective and those negative thoughts and those negative emotions to those emotions that are positive and hopefully gaining way to light.
Yes.
Right? So I'm so grateful for the battery for just teaching me that. But the other interesting thing about it is that the electrolytes, we have electrolytes within us, and I always say, like, emotions is energy in motion. And that's why you can't get carried away with your emotions, because they do come and they go. It's like a current. It flows continuously. And if we're not careful, we can really end up on this AKA emotional roller coaster, which a lot of us get on this ride every single day.
Exactly.
So the goal and the intention is to understand how your emotions work. And I truly believe that they are all stimulated from your thoughts.
Of course. Thoughts is everything.
It's totally stimulated from your thoughts. And the key is capturing your thoughts. It's being aware of your thoughts. It's being conscious of your thoughts, so much so that you're able to appropriately distribute them throughout your day and throughout your life and towards other people or towards whatever it is that you're working on in that moment. It is so important, so vital for us to truly, truly be connected with our thought life, because that changes everything. That literally changes the game of life, if you will. So being mindful of that. And again, going back to the battery, I think it's so important for us to understand that we have an option to choose our thoughts.
Always an option.
Let's just breathe on
Soon as you
that.
wake up.
Yes, you have this option to choose your thoughts. Now, thoughts do just randomly pop into your head. Again, I haven't discovered that either, but I am truly working towards it. But we all have this stream of consciousness, and there's a lot of things that contribute to your thoughts. If you grow up in a certain household, if you grow up in a certain culture, you automatically kind of grow into this paradigm, this philosophy towards life. And that indeed has a huge impact on how you see things, your perspective, how you relate to the world, how you relate to your family, your self-image, identity. All of these things are definitely influenced by this paradigm, this thought life, this thought pattern that we have. So I would definitely suggest that in this life and in this world of thoughts and emotions and feelings, that you start to pinpoint your basic philosophy towards life. Because a lot of people are walking around with a paradigm they know not of. So if you know your philosophy towards life, and if you know how you see things, and you know your perspective, and you know, I guess, the foundation upon which you engage with the world and yourself, you're better able to not only manage your life, but also like manage your emotions, manage your relationships, and then it makes it so much easier to shift that paradigm if necessary.
Yeah, it is, definitely. Self-awareness.
Exactly. Being aware of self. Everybody's trying to be aware of everybody else, and they don't even know themselves. It's
Don't
like,
worry about what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, this is like a whole nother conversation. So totally being aware of your thoughts, your consciousness. And once you are aware of that, then you're able to move forward into a new direction or maintain the direction that you're already moving into. The interesting thing about this whole idea of negative and positive, people say, well, think positive. What does that really mean?
What does it mean?
Like, when you sit down and think about it, what does that really mean? And I truly believe that idea, that concept, that theory is rooted in this idea of what negative and positive is defined as, in numbers. If it's a negative number, that means it's less than or there's lack. And if it's a positive number, that means it's greater than and there's more.
All right.
So that's okay. That's a clue. Like, okay, so if I'm thinking negatively, perhaps I'm focusing on the lack that I may be experiencing or focusing on what I don't have. And if I'm thinking positively, perhaps I just need to focus on the abundance that's already in my life, or even the things that I desire, but in a more open way to where you're willing to receive it instead of thinking that you can't receive it. Because a lot of people think of abundance in two different ways. Some people think of abundance in a sense where I know I can have this and I know this is my birthright, so I am going to receive it and I'm going to do the work that it takes to obtain it. While other people may look at abundance and say, I'll never have that, or I'm not worthy of that. So again, you can be thinking about the same thing but just having a totally different perspective of it, or coming from it
Indeed.
from a totally different pole. And even in tests, when you take a blood test, negative means you don't have it. Positive means you do have it, right? So
Yeah.
it's still like the same philosophy where negative is less than and not having, and positive is more than and having a thing. So that's a starting point. So if you find yourself waking up in the negative, I mean, even your bank account, when it's negative, you know what it is. And we all want positive.
We all want a very
We
positive
all
bank
want
account.
positive. When it's negative, it is in the red and saying, and when you see it on your little app, it's red. And we don't want that. And I've had my share of those days.
We all had our share.
We want positive
Positive.
in that area. But it's good to recognize that. It's really good to break down things. I always say when you know the definition of a thing, you're better equipped to handle it and to use it properly. So it's so important for us to be mindful of the language that we use and being mindful of our thought life and our paradigm towards everything in life and in general. So going back to this whole idea of the negative and the positive, I truly believe in frequencies, #vibes don't lie. So when you think about certain disorders or things that people deal with, like depression, like oppression, like inferiority and fear itself and anxiety, all of those things are low level vibrations. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to eat. You there's a lack of energy.
Yeah.
And even me, and I don't like talking about these things because I don't know if it's because I spend so much time thinking about these things, writing about these things, speaking about these things, reading about these things, that I'm more sensitive to them. But words have so much power. And even when you say certain words, it can shift your energy.
Yeah.
It can shift your field of energy. It can
People
shift.
around you.
And even with people around you, you can feel like energy when people walk into the room. And it's not because it's some out of mind, out of body experience or this like wishy-washy thing. This is like fact. This is like truth. This is like, I always go back to the body and how so many of the minerals and vitamins and everything that we have on the inside of us, you can find it in the earth. So
My parents believed in that.
So it's like you have to recognize that you are like the most priceless computer that ever existed. You are the most like fearfully and wonderfully made creature. Like you embody so much that exists on the in the earth. And that goes to food. It's like if you're made of these things, you need to replenish these things. So eating certain things, it's not really helping you. That's just a sidebar. I gave you that one for free.
Yeah, we need that. That's also a show right there. 'Cause a lot of
Definitely.
people don't drink water.
The basic.
They say they don't like water, and then you go to the doctor. The doctor tells you you're dehydrated. It's very true.
Like, yeah, whole nother conversation.
Yes, we get there.
But the whole point of it is just recognizing that your physical body itself is something that needs to be cherished, number one, but you also have to pay attention to it. And I think as a human being and a human species, we're so, I guess, interested in everything else and all of these exterior things that we lack this awareness of who we are just as human beings alone. Not even speaking about the spiritual nature of who we are. So understanding that you have electrolytes in your body, understanding that you have negative frequencies and you have positive frequencies within yourself. And if you connect that to the thoughts that you have, being that circuit, being that catalyst to kind of shift things on the inside of you, again, I truly believe that you are better equipped to manage your emotional self and manage the emotional being that you are. Oftentimes people say, don't go based on your feelings or don't pay attention to your emotions. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. While I don't believe that you should be led by your emotions, I do believe that you can be taught by your emotions.
Should pay attention to them.
Exactly. And there's a lot of adults who are emotionally just out of order.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. And it could be something that we're, I guess, indirectly trained in as we're growing up to kind of deny your emotions, or especially young men. I can't speak for men, but what is that like for you guys?
Growing up,
the expectation of it all.
Well, I was growing up, you hear it all the time, like, be a man, don't cry. So you begin to learn to put those feelings to the side.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to show emotions like that.
So do you ever remember a point in your life where you kind of started to, I guess, disconnect from your emotions, or has that ever happened to you at all?
I mean, I began to, but the time, I've always put my emotions to the side growing up as a teenager. But there was one time where it was because I did that, I got hurt really bad with my first breakup. That first breakup killed me because I never felt those emotions so much in me before being taught to
suppress them, I guess.
In a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was hard.
And even that, suppressing your emotions can lead to anxiety, lead to depression.
Because you don't know, you're not controlling them.
You're not controlling them. You're disconnected from them. And then you're not learning from them either.
Yeah.
Again, emotions are to the soul what the skin is to the body. If you get cut on your body, your skin breaks, it is bleeding. That means you need to get help. And oftentimes our emotions are broken. We're bleeding, but we're acting like nothing is going on the inside of us. And it's no, you have to take a moment to really digest what's happening to you. Again, not being led astray by your emotions, but connect with them so much so that you are able to understand where you are in your life and why you're there in your life. A lot of times people are in certain situations and spaces because their emotions, ignoring their emotions, led them there. Yeah. Not taking consideration as to how they feel. And I'm not talking about this wishy-washy type of thing. There's a feeling that's deeper than just I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, it's like a feeling, it's a vibe, it's a frequency that, again, I'm looking to discover how to put this into words so that I can share these truths with you. Do you think you have it?
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
It's that harmony in you, it's that peace. You can reach that level of light. That light is a level that you can't explain.
Perhaps I'll never be able to explain it.
You can't explain it. When you have it, you have it. When you don't, you don't. And you even know the level of, the opposite, the dark. Because that's when you start getting those thoughts in your head of doing things you shouldn't do. And that's where, unfortunately, people go the wrong direction. But I think that something that you spoke on real quick is that to get your emotions in check, you have to be honest with yourself.
Yes.
I think that's the hardest. That's the one thing that people don't understand what's wrong with them because they're not being honest with themselves. It's really hard. Sometimes people lie to themselves in their own head.
And I think that's I know that is a huge goal of LifeClub, is to tap into that transparency between self and to really dig deep on the inside and be honest with yourself, because honesty is true. Truth is light, and being transparent. The idea of being transparent is that you can see through a thing, is so that light can reflect through a thing, So if you are not if truth is light, but you're not being transparent, there's blockages there. You know, so light can't pass through it. So it definitely starts with being honest with yourself, being transparent about how you feel, about your thought life, about where you are in life. How do you see your life? Where do you want your life to go? The saddest thing that I've ever recognized and seen was the fact that some people don't even allow themselves to dream. Like, it's not even to the point of you going out and actually trying to make something happen. If you want to lose weight, it's not even like going to the gym and getting a membership. If you want to start a business, it's not even getting the email or the domain name. Like, forget that. They don't even allow themselves to envision this idea of being in perfect shape and in perfect health, or being an entrepreneur, or being the best person that they can be, or just living their best life. People don't even allow themselves to sit within themselves to even think about that, let alone taking physical and tangible steps to doing so. And that starts with transparency. That starts with being real about your current situation. I always believe that if the current situation is unfavorable, it can be better. And if it's good, it can still be better. Yeah. You know, sometimes people get to this sweet spot in their lives and they stop there, not recognizing that the same power that got you there can get you even further. So taking that time to be honest with yourself, to have some truth shed light on your current situation. And again, the situations I'm talking about are not external. I always say that everything that we see comes from the unseen. Everything that's visible comes from the invisible. And people are so, like, AKA grinding, which really means whittling down to the bone. Like, I am totally not a grinder. I get sleep. And
you sleep?
I do.
Oh, okay.
And that's the thing. It's like we're in the society of the hustler. We're in the society of, I got to go get it. I got to do this. I got to do that. But without a physical body, you're not going too far. It's real life. It's real life. But again, that goes back to your paradigm. That goes back to what you see as wealth, abundance, and happiness. It goes back to that. But so many people are physically beating themselves down, trying to come up. Doesn't make any sense in my book.
It's so funny because you made me remember something. I got checked by this, I think this older person, because I had a mentality when I first started my business. I was like, I'll rest when I'm dead. Right? And they were like, you all right?
Wow.
You okay?
And that's a lot of people's hashtags like now. Like, I sleep when I don't even want to use the word.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
It's like real life,
Like, nah, you don't need to do all that. You just need to
and the amazing thing about it is that when you are honest with yourself, when you are transparent, when you renew your mind and you change your thought pattern, things come to you so much more easier than they do when you are just physically in that grind. Yeah. Phone calls come to you, emails come to you. People are like, you know what? I want you to come here or do this or whatever. I want you to experience this. I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me, to the point where I started to notice the pattern, and then I just started to wait and be patient and not stress and be anxious and worrying about how things are going to happen, because I truly believe when you are in that flow, AKA that current, you are able to pick up and grasp the things that are already there for you. And then the other aspect about that is that when you finally do get the thing that you've been chasing after, you're going to feel like you have to maintain that same energy, aka keep that same energy when you get it. So then it's just this constant. Ferris wheel that you're on, this constant rat race that you're in. And it's like, it goes back to your thoughts. It goes back to your paradigm, because whatever paradigm you had to get there, you're going to feel like you have to keep it in order to stay there. Sure. And I'm just going to be real. I have worked with millionaires. I have worked with freelancers, creatives. I have worked with so many different people, and I do get in everybody's business. I think it's just like a natural thing that I have, where it's not intentionally getting into people's business, but I ask those questions about their emotions and their thought life. And it really doesn't matter who you are. You can be a CEO, and I will probably ask you that question or something similar to it, because number one, I love the journey of getting to a place. And being able to speak with so many different people and sit in rooms with so many different people, it's amazing how we all have like this common thread of just wanting more and better for ourselves. And while we get to it in different ways, that's always the intention. That's always the goal and the desire. Even people who are hustling on the block. Funny enough, the same goal, the goal is the same, is to do better for myself or my family or whomever I love. And again, that paradigm that you take that's going to be your how. Your thought life is your how. That's your path. That's the direction that you're taking. And again, this definitely has something to do with our thoughts and with that paradigm. I remember speaking with someone who I worked with at an investment bank, and he shared the story about his family and how, I'm here, I'm working for my family, but I don't see them. I'm 2.5 hours away. So I literally have this drive here into Manhattan, and I take 2.5 hours here and 2.5 hours back. By the time that happens, my children are sleeping and everybody's like winding down. So is it worth it? But again, it's that paradigm. That same investment bank went under. And he's one of the people that I thought about. I wonder how he's doing to invest so much of his life and taking away so much of his personal time to make a living for his family. And then for a company just to cave in and close. What does that do to your mental?
Yeah. Well, something that's a good question, and at the end of the day, it has to do with him, his thoughts. Because if he decides how he want to see it, he could have seen that as a blessing. Like, oh wow, maybe he had a lot of money saved up. Now, that's done. Now I can do a business and just be home with my family more.
Definitely, and I'm so happy you said that. I'm so happy you said that, because that's the beauty in our thoughts and how they're connected to our emotions. Once we discover what our emotions are telling us, we can go back to the 1 minute of meditation and redirect, right? I always I tell my son, and I try to share this with so many other people, is that you can literally change your mind at any given moment of the day.
But you know what? People need to understand that thought is first. Because people think emotions, they think feelings, they think all that is first. Desires first. It's not. It's thoughts. The only way you're going to be able to control your thoughts is understand that thought is first.
Yes. And that's the power in understanding where your emotions come from. Again, learning from your emotions. If your emotion is crying right now, and it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he did that, or she did this, or I can't believe they fired me. I can't believe, okay, this is your emotion. That is your skin being broken. You have a scrape. Now, going back to what you said, how can I change this?
How can I solve?
Yeah, what is my perspective, and how can I look at this thing? Right? So that is so important. Using your emotions, aka energy and emotion, to tell you what you're thinking. And once you do that subtraction, going back, okay, this is my emotion. What was the last thought I just had? And I literally do this. I'm like, okay, you ever feel like out of nowhere you just feel sad? Or you just feel down. And it's like, where is this coming from? So what I do when that happens to me, again, it goes back to gravity. We have this tendency to start at the lowest point for whatever reason that I'm still discovering. So number one, that emotion, that feeling, that energy could be either I just had a bad thought or I just need to re-up on my good thoughts. Because sometimes it's just like this natural tendency, especially when you're coming out of a traumatic experience or you're transitioning in a certain area of your life. You oftentimes there's this like process of transition, this process of renewing your thoughts for this specific season in your life, It's kind of like my plants. Pepper is getting so big. I'm so proud of her. AKA that's my plant. If anybody knows me, y'all know Pepper.
Hi, Pepper.
So I learned a lot from plants, and Pepper started out in this little like detergent cap, right? I had a salad. I was like, I want to plant my green pepper seeds, and I just did. That's what I did. I planted them, got some soil, put them in a plant, and over time, Pepper would stop growing. So that indicates to me that I have to repot her in a bigger pot with more soil because her roots stop growing.
Okay.
And the more I noticed her growth stopped, I knew it was time to repot her. So the same is true for us. Oftentimes we have mastered a certain level in our lives. I remember Lauryn Hill speaking about this, where she said there's always these moments in our lives where there's peaks and there's valleys, and we're always either coming out of learning a lesson and into mastering one. And it's just this cycle over and over and over again. So some of us don't even have real problems. It's just that we need to just grow. We just need to repot ourselves and to learn more about who we are, where we're going, and what we're supposed to do in this earth. So that's so important. Oftentimes, you may feel like something is wrong, and it's not that something is wrong. It's just that it's time to elevate. It's time to grow. I always say, if you're thinking the same thoughts that you had 10 years ago, it's time to change. It's time to shift. And going back to what you said about changing, and shifting and being able, as long as you're aware that thought comes first, being able to transition through that thought and to shift your thoughts is so important. And you don't need permission to do that.
You don't.
Oh, let's just breathe on that.
Yeah.
You do not need permission to change your mind. Some of us are waiting for this big aha moment to exist, and just like fairy dust comes down and all of these things, fireworks and two birds and like a turtle come past your way to give you a sign. You don't need all of that.
You know something else that too can keep a person from changing their thoughts? Fear.
Yes.
Fear can. Because don't be afraid, because I know that sometimes changing your thoughts mean that you might lose some friends, some family members you might hang out with. Because you might change your thought. I don't want to do the club no more. I don't want to do these things anymore.
Yep.
That's good.
And I'm so happy you brought up fear, because that is major in our thought life. It is so major in our thought life. And what we have to recognize is that fear is just low vibrations. Fear is literally your energy, your frequency, your thoughts. It's the negative. It's the lack. It's the less than. So sometimes people are afraid of fear, not recognizing that it is simply a state of being that you can actually conquer by shifting your thoughts. And one of the things that I've recognized just in my personal development and growth and even self-reflection is that sometimes the physical does come before the thought. So oftentimes people struggle with this. Well, how do I change my thoughts? Like, I want to change my life. I recognize that I have, this issue with my thought life and the quality of my thoughts aren't the healthiest. But how do I make that shift? And sometimes it takes for you doing physical activities to change your mind. Sometimes it is an issue of going from the outside in versus the inside out. I think in some areas it's reverse, but it is important and vital for us to acknowledge that you can change your habits. And the original, procedure or path is that thought comes into your mind. You meditate on that thought long enough that it creates an emotion and some energy and frequency on the inside of you. And that energy moves you to do something physical. Yeah. So it goes from thought, meditation, energy or emotion, and then moving in the physical, acting out on that thought. Now, a healthy thing to do is to acknowledge if you feel weak in this area. Well, every time I try to think about this comes into my mind. That's why a lot of people have issues with meditation, because they can't sit still within their minds. And that sometimes is hard to do, and I totally get it. So if this isn't working in one area of your life, try doing the physical aspect of it first. I always go back to the gym. That's the easiest thing for all of us to connect to. If you want to lose weight. Say again?
Hobbies.
Yeah.
Hobbies keep you focused. Sometimes.
Exactly. And I mean, sometimes you need to shift your hobbies. So that's a whole nother. Because hobbies are just habits that could be good or not good for
Yeah.
you.
But we want good ones. Though.
Yes, we want that positive energy, that
vibes.
positive vibe. So, in shifting your thoughts, you can start by physically changing your behavior. So, picking up a new hobby, doing the opposite of what you do. It's always going to come back to your thoughts because your physical behavior can start to change your thoughts, especially when you start to see rewards from that behavior. If you're going to the gym, you might not want to go, but you push yourself physically to go. You can be on the treadmill saying, I don't want to be here, but you're physically there. Once you drop a pound or two, it's like, okay, I see the benefit in this. Let me keep going. And then again, that reverse transition will occur. You started with the physical aspect of it, and then it came to this thought life where it's like, wow, like I can do this. I understand the health benefits of doing this, etc.
You just described the battery again.
Come on now, it's all linked
That's
together. It's
battery.
all connected. I love it.
So connected.
Yes, if you're just tuning in, this is Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. I got my homeboy Wally in the studio. We are speaking about the science of our emotions. Here at Life Club, we work on getting our lives in order. Hashtag fixing our lives. Yes.
Fixing my life.
Yes. And it feels so good to just
Yes, it does.
be here, in this moment, speaking about these everyday things that are so vital to our quality of life. One of the things that I want to really focus on is going back to fear, because again, that is a hindrance. That is something that truly stops us from moving ahead in life. And the more you face that fear, the more you're honest and transparent about the fears that you have, the easier and the sooner you are able to overcome those things. It's just so, I think it's one of the most freeing things to face a fear. It's kind of like a checklist. I don't know if you guys like writing checklists, but it feels really good to check things off that list to the point where you start putting random things on the list just so you could check it off. And fear needs to be on that checklist. You have to understand that oftentimes fear is a product of our paradigm. Will Smith is like truly an inspiration. And the movie, I believe it's After Earth or Beyond Earth. Don't quote me on it.
I think it was.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
But one of the things he says is that danger is real. Danger is real, but fear isn't. Fear is a product of your thought life, of your imagination. Yeah. So when you recognize that, you are then equipped to face that fear. Growing up, people knew I was the scaredy cat. Like I was scared of everything. I was worried, anxious, all of these things. But the older I got, the more frustrated I became with those fears, to the point where it's like, okay, I have to deal with this because I can't move forward holding on to it. So getting to that space in your thought life to where you can honestly ask yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of? Like this week, ask yourself, what is it that I am afraid of? Yes.
Make that list.
Asking yourself that and being real about it, regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, regardless of where you find yourself in life, asking yourself, what am I afraid of? Because there is where you will find those low frequency emotions. Because oftentimes our emotions are rooted somewhere in fear, at least the negative emotions that we don't want. They're rooted in fear. So once you attack that fear, you can then move forward in life. And in general, so many people are walking around afraid, and it's holding them back from the life of their dreams.
Yes, don't be afraid to grow, to change, to improve.
And so many people are afraid. That's AKA change. Like, growth is change.
Yes.
And you have to get used to change in your life because that's the only thing that is constant. Like, the only thing that's constant in the world is change.
Change consistently.
And that's a really good thing. It's a really good thing. So, I always say we just got to leave, like, the 3 little dots because Life Club never ends.
Yes.
I really hope that all of our listeners got something from this conversation. Super excited to always be here with you guys every week, Sundays at 1 p.m. on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York, the voice of Harlem, and Mondays and during the week via podcast, via YV radio, and so many more. I want to leave you with this. Take responsibility for your thought life like you do for that dream car or that dream house or whatever it is that you put so much energy into. Make your thought life just as important and just as vital as you do that thing, and watch your life change for the better. That's a good place to put a pause, right?
Yes.
All right, Wally, where can everybody find you?
Oh, you can find me at on YV Mag on Instagram. That's Y with a yes, V as in Victor, MAG, and on www.yvmag.com. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for chilling with me. This was fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I am Tashima Jones. You can find me at tashimajones.com. All of my social media and contact information can be found there. Until next time, remember your greatness. Talk soon. I am Tashima Jones, and you've been listening to LifeClub. Thank you for tuning in.